Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope that you are doing well. My name is Amir Hussain. As you know that we are discussing the chapter 4 of history, which is titled as the age of industrialization, and in this chapter we have discussed something about what this chapter is all about, and proto-industrialization process we have discussed that. And now today we are going to discuss another important topic, that is how rapid was the process of the industrialization. How rapid was the process of industrialization. How rapid was the process of industrialization? This is another important topic, or you can also say it. Does industrialization mean only the growth of factory industries, or you can also say this today's topic will be on the main features of 19th century process of industrialization of Europe. So today's topic will be main features of the 19th century process of industrialization of Europe, or you can say how rapid was the process of industrialization in the 19th century. कितनी रैपिड थी, कितनी क्विक प्रोसेस ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन थी 19th सेंचुरी की, वो हम देखने जा रहे हैं यहाँ. क्या इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन का मतलब 19th सेंचुरी में खाली ग्रोथ ऑफ फैक्ट्री इंडस्ट्रीज था? We are going to discuss all these things in today's topic. So let us begin. The process of industrialization. The process of industrialization which is called machinized industrialization. The process of industrialization, machinized industrialization, it was very slow. It was very slow in the 19th century. So first important thing about this 19th century industrialization, which was machinized industrialization, क्योंकि machines इसमें important थे, मशीनों के थ्रू ये industrialization हो रही थी 19th century में. This process was very slow in the 19th century, and it was found that the traditional non-machinized industries they also continued to operate, to function. So in the 19th century, it is not that with the coming of machines, with the coming of these industries, factories, traditional industries which were non-machinized, where there were absence of these machines industries, it is not that they declined, they disappeared completely. Rather than they also continued to function, they also continued to operate. And now we will move towards main features of this main features. What are the main features of this 19th century industrialization? We will now discuss all those features. 19th century industrialization which took place at in Europe. We will discuss that. There are many features of this industrialization process of 19th century, which was machinized industrialization process, which was very slow. First important feature was dynamic industries. It was dynamic industries. What does that mean? Dynamic means they keep on changing. There were these industries were not static. Static means changeless. Rather, there were many changes occurring with the passage of time in these industries. First important feature is that, and two important these industries. One, cotton and metal. Cotton and metal industries were dynamic industries. These were dynamic industries. Two important industries in the 19th century Europe, which were dynamic industries. One was this. One important was the cotton, and second was metal industries. These two industries, they were dynamic industries. That means many changes took place in these two industries. They changed with the passage of time. And cotton, if we take cotton industries, cotton industry was leading industry. It was leading industry. It was leading industry till 1840s. Till 1840s, this cotton industry was the leading industry. It was powerful industry. It was dominant industry till 1840s. But after 1840s, what happened? Actually, after that, two other this cotton industry was replaced by two other industries. One was iron, and second was steel. Iron and steel industries. After that, they came into being and they started dominating. This replaced cotton and metal industries as the leading industries. And why iron and these steel industries? Because with the expansion of railways, with the expansion of railways, with the expansion of railways in England from 1840s, and also and in colonies, from 1860s. That means with the expansion of railways expanded in this England from 1840s, and also in colonies from 1860s. With their expansion, there was high demand for this iron and steel. Iron and steel was in it was highly demanded. Iron and steel was highly demanded, and because of its high demand, it overcame or it replaced the cotton and metal industries. So this was the important feature of the 19th century industrialization process that took place in Europe. So this was their dominance, that with the passage of time, with the expansion of these railways in colonies and in Europe, in England in 1840s and 1860s, the steel and iron industries, they dominated, and this gave boost. The expansion of railways gave boost to these two industries, and it has been found by 1873. By 1873, Britain, it was estimated that Britain was exporting iron and steel which was worth 77 million pounds, right? So by 1873, Britain was exporting this iron and steel in huge numbers, in huge quality and quantity, in huge quantity, in huge numbers, and it was found that by 1873, Britain was exporting iron and steel, which was worth this 77 pounds billion. So this was another important feature of 19th century industrialization process in Europe. Another second important feature of these industrialization process was it was traditional industries. Traditional industries. And as I told you earlier that the machinized industries could not displace traditional industries. They could not displace traditional industries, as I told you earlier. They could not completely wipe out these traditional industries. And by the end of 19th century, it was found that less than 20% of the total workforce, less than 20% of the total workforce was employed. It was employed in technologically less advanced industries. That means these traditional industries, which were having less technological advancement in advanced industries. So it was found that by the end of 19th century in Europe, less than 20% of the total workforce was employed in these technologically less advanced industries. That means these traditional industries. It speaks itself that these traditional industries did not disappear. They were not completely wiped out. They were not eliminated with the coming of the machinized industries. So they continued to operate. They continued to function even after the coming of these factories, these industries, machinized industries. And it was found that large portion of cotton output was from these industries, or was from domestic industries or domestic units, you can say, household units. And what are these domestic units? These were these traditional industries which were operating not in factories. These were operating in the farms, and family played very important role in these traditional industries. So these traditional industries, large portion of the cotton, this cotton output, cotton raw material, finished goods, they were from domestic units and they were not from the machinized industry. So this was another important feature of the 19th century industrialization process, or it shows how quick or slow, as I told you earlier, that this industrialization process of 19th century in England, in this Europe, it was very slow as compared to these traditional industries. Traditional industries also operated, and the 19th century industrialization process was very slow. Third important feature of these 19th century industrialization was it was traditional industries not static or not they were not stagnant. So this was another important feature of 19th century industrialization process of this Europe. What does it mean? It means that traditional industries, they were not stagnant. Stagnant means they did not, they were not this stagnated. वो खत्म नहीं हुए या वो वाइप आउट नहीं हुए या वो रुके नहीं. They were not stagnant. उनमें स्टैग्नेशन प्रोसेस नहीं हुई, उनमें वो रुकावट नहीं देखने को मिली. और हम देख सकते हैं कि ये जो ट्रेडिशनल इंडस्ट्रीज थी, ट्रेडिशनल इंडस्ट्रीज, these were not stagnant. They were not stagnant. These were not they were not stopped. They did not this stop functioning. Rather, they continued. The period of stagnation was not seen in these industries, and it was found that through ordinary and small innovations, these industries, traditional industry, they revolutionized non machinized sectors. Through ordinary and small innovations. Small and ordinary innovations were carried out, and through these innovations, the non-machinized sectors, that means the traditional industries who were non-machinized, where there were absence of industries, absence of these factories, absence of machines, it was seen that small innovations, ordinary innovations were carried out there, and through these innovations, these non-machinized sectors, these traditional industrial sectors, such as building, food processing, pottery, glasswork, etc. These things were revolutionized. Their production increased with the coming of small innovations, with the carrying out of small innovations, small and ordinary innovations. So this is another important feature of the 19th century, this industrialization process. Another important feature, that is fourth feature, is slow technological changes. This is another important feature of these industries. It was found that the new technology did not spread dramatically. It did not spread dramatically across the landscape, across the industrial landscape. That means the new technology that was introduced in the 19th century, it did not spread quickly, it did not spread rapidly across the industrial sector, across the industrial landscape. ये जो industrialized countries थी, जहाँ पे industrialization हो रही थी, जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी लाई गई, वो नई टेक्नोलॉजी इनमें spread जल्दी नहीं हुई. Therefore, these traditional workers, these poor workers, they have now no choice but to cling to these industries, but to rely on these industries, traditional industries. जो traditional industries थी, आप उन्हीं पे इनको ये जो है गुजारा करना था, वहाँ से ही काम करना था, क्योंकि ये न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी जो लाई गई, ये जल्दी जल्दी मशीन टेक्नोलॉजी जो थी ये स्प्रेड नहीं हो सकी जल्दी सारे इंडस्ट्रीज में। दैट्स वाई ये जो पुअर पेजेंट्स थे उनको अब ऑप्शन नहीं था, बल्कि वहाँ पे उनको यही ऑप्शन था, दे हैड ओनली वन ऑप्शन, दैट इज दे हैड टू वर्क in the traditional industries. And second important this, so the process of technological changes were very slow, and also these were very expensive. These were very expensive. This is another important feature, you can say fifth feature. Fifth feature of these this industrialization process was the expansive technology. It was expansive technology. What does that mean? It means expansive technology means that the new technology which was brought in, it was completely, the new technology was very expansive. It was expansive. ये बहुत कीमती, ये बहुत इसकी कीमत जो है बहुत ज़्यादा थी, इसीलिए therefore industrialists and merchants, therefore they were reluctant. They were reluctant in using this new technology, in using it. So this is another important feature of this technological process, of this this industrialization process of 19th century Europe. That means this technology was very expensive. New technology was very expensive. इसकी कीमत बहुत ज़्यादा थी, और इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट्स और मर्चेंट्स जो है वो इसको शायद जो है इसकी इतनी कीमत वो नहीं चुका सकते थे, इसीलिए उनको लगा कि हमारे यहाँ पे ठीक है ट्रेडिशनल इंडस्ट्रीज़ ही, दैट्स वाई दे रिमेन रिलेक्टेंट। वो अपने ही इंडस्ट्रीज़ को, जो वहाँ पे नॉन मशीनाइज्ड ये जो सेक्टर था, उन्होंने उसी पे जो है उसी को प्रेफरेंस दी एज कम्पेयर टू दिस न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी। एंड अनदर इम्पॉर्टेंट फीचर ऑफ दिस वाज द repairment cost. It was found that the new technology, that the new machines, ये जो नई machines थे, new machines were often broken down. ये broke down हो जाते थे, they were broken down oftenly. ऑफन ये जल्दी जल्दी जो है टूट जाते थे, इनमें खराबियां हो जाती थी। एंड रिपेयरमेंट जो है, रिपेयरमेंट वाज फाउंड वेरी कॉस्टली। रिपेयरमेंट फिर उनको ठीक कराना, ये बहुत, उन पे बहुत ज़्यादा पैसे लगते थे, ये बहुत कॉस्टली था, एक्सपेंसिव वो भी था। इसीलिए नई मशीन जो है, और ये तो इसीलिए इन्होंने कहा कि नई मशीन इन्होंने रिलेक्टेंट ये यूज़ करने से मना कर दिया इन्हीं इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट्स और इन्हीं मर्चेंट्स ने, क्योंकि उनको लगा कि ये जो वहाँ से हम ये जो इंडस्ट्री, ये जो सारी मशीन्स हैं, इनका रिपेयर, इस नई टेक्नोलॉजी का रिपेयर करना जो है हमारे बस की बात नहीं है, क्योंकि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्टली है, इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा चला जाता है। दैट्स वाई they preferred their own traditional industries rather than the new technology. Also it was found that the new machines, ये जो नए machines थे, new machines, they were not as effective as claimed by their inventors and also manufacturers. This is another important weakness and another important disadvantage of these industries, of these machines. That means the new machines, the new technology that was introduced, these new machines were not effective. The expectations that these merchants and industrialists had with these machines, it were not to that extent कि लोग जितना इनको एक्सपेक्टेशंस इनसे थी कि ये बहुत इफ़ेक्टिव हो सकती थी, जैसे उनके ये जो इन्वेंटर्स हैं और उनके जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, उनके बनाने वाले थे, तो उन्होंने पहले क्लेम किया था कि ये बहुत इफ़ेक्टिव है, बट व्हेन दे वर यूज्ड this effectiveness was not seen there. That's why these industrialists and merchants, they prefer their own traditional industries. So this was about how, what are the main features of this 19th century industrialization process. Important feature of this 19th century industrialization process of Europe was limited use of machines. Limited use of machines. Machines were used limitedly in these industries. So the best example is that of steam engine. Steam engine. This steam engine, which was earlier produced or created by a person called, it was produced or created by a person called Thomas Newcomen. He was a person who created this steam engine, and at that time earlier it was called atmospheric steam engine. Atmospheric steam engine, and this steam engine, atmospheric steam engine, was produced by a person called Thomas Newcomen, and this person was actually blacksmith by profession, and he spent many more years of his time in doing experiment with this steam engine. And what happened after that, it was, he produced that in this engine in 1712, around 1712. This person, this Thomas Newcomen, he created atmospheric steam engine. And later on in 1781, another important person, that is James Watt. Another important person, who was Scottish inventor, he improved the steam engine. He made some improvements. He improved steam engine. This person, and he improved the steam engine in 1781. He made some improvements, some changes in the Thomas Newcomen's this atmospheric steam engine, and because of which this steam engine became very powerful, and its speed was accelerated, so it was increased. And in this process, this person James Watt was helped by his friend, who was important industrialist of the time, whose name was Matthew Boulton. Matthew Boulton was the industrialist, and he was friend of James Watt, and he helped James Watt in making some improvements, some changes in the steam engine. He helped him in this respect. So after that, even though this steam engine was improved, but even after that, for many years, there were no buyers. Even it is improvement, even it is after making some changes in the steam engine, after making this powerful, even then, for many years, there were no buyers. No one could buy this steam engine, and it was found that at the beginning of the 19th century, beginning of 19th century, there were more than 321 steam engines. In the beginning of 19th century, there were more than 321 steam engines, but what was the problem? These were found all over England. All over England in the 19th century, there were more than 321 steam engines. And among these 321 these steam engines which were produced all over the England, among these 80 were in cotton industries. In cotton industries, there were 80 these steam engines were found there, and similarly 9 in wool industries. 9 were found in wool industries, and the rest were in mining, canal works, and iron works. So this was the condition of steam engine. This was the situation in which you will see yourself how new technology was looked upon by the people. Among these 80, among 321 steam engines, 80 were in cotton industries, 9 in wool industries, and the rest were in mining. They were used in mining, canal works, and iron workers. So these steam engines, and it was found that steam engines were not used in any of the other industries till much later in century. सो ये खुद दिखा रहा है स्टीम इंजन जो है ये बहुत कम यूज़ होते थे बाकी इंडस्ट्रीज़ में, और ये हाल जो है ये स्टीम इंजन बहुत कम यूज़ किए जाते थे, और इनका ऐसा ही हाल रहा बहुत सारे ये जो सेंचुरी थी 19th सेंचुरी, इसमें बहुत टाइम तक इनका यही हाल रहा, ये यूज़ नहीं किए जाते थे ऑन massive scale, on large scale as it was expected. So we can say lastly that the most powerful new technology that enhanced in a way production, जिसने production enhance की थी of man these labors, it increased their production, but at the same time the industrialists were very slow to accept such changes. Industrialists ने इन changes को, जो ये new technology थी, very few industrialists, or in a way most of the industrialists, they did not accept this new technology, the changes that was brought about in the this labor manifold. These changes were not accepted by the industrialists. So this made the historians, lastly this made historians to identify or to recognize that, or this made the historians believe that worker in the mid 19th century, worker in the mid 19th century was not a machine, was not a machine operator. He was not a machine operator, but a traditional but the traditional craft person was traditional craftsperson and laborer. This was the conclusion made by the historian. They finally this came to the conclusion that actually the worker in the mid 19th century, he was not a machine operator. He was not operating machines. ये machine उसको operate नहीं कर रहा था. Rather, he was traditional craftsman and he was laborer. ये जो वर्कर था ये असल में मिड 19th सेंचुरी में मशीन ऑपरेटर नहीं था, बल्कि ये वही ट्रेडिशनल क्राफ्ट्स पर्सन था जो ट्रेडिशनल क्राफ्टमैनशिप इसके पास थी, ये वही अभी भी इसके पास वही था, और ये अभी भी वो लेबरर था जो इससे पहले 18th सेंचुरी में 18th सेंचुरी में ये था, जो फार्मर्स में वर्क कर रहा था, ये स्टिल वही था. आल्दो ये अब इंडस्ट्रीज में काम कर रहा था, न्यू मशीन्स वहाँ पे थी, न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी थी, बट स्टिल historians came to conclusion, they believed that he was more than this crafts person and laborer, rather than he was a machine operator. So this was all about the 19th century industrialization process of Europe. Hope you have understood this topic as well.